Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another round of Bases Picks. As always, please like and subscribe, share with a friend, a colleague, a relative, an associate, an enemy, any and all in between. It's appreciated, and I hope that the sound on this video is of decent enough standard. The microphone that I use has busted on me, or at least some parts of it look like it's busted, so I need to buy a new one. Same as I need to buy a new ring light. So yeah, all of the expenses are expensive at this point in time, but it's cool. We'll do the best we can for the time being. There's one major card on this weekend, which is obviously Joe Joyce versus Derek Chisora. I'll talk a little bit about some of the undercard fights. I'm not going to go into any huge detail on any of them, to be totally honest. We're just going to stick mainly to the main event, which is kind of where I guess all the intrigue is at this point in time. And I guess before I even start on that, Claressa Shields is fighting tonight, the zone card. She is going up for the light heavyweight and heavyweight titles in the women's division. I can't even remember the name of the girl that she's fighting. I'm trying to remember it. Anyway, that I'm sure it will come to me in a moment, because these things, you know, they'll just pop back into the head sooner or later. But not really going to talk about that one. What's that? The girl's name's Vanessa something. Vanessa, is it like Vanessa Joanese? That's it. Yeah, she's fighting Vanessa Joanese for the light heavyweight titles. Yeah, ultimately, I think she's gonna win. And you know what? Well, I say I think she's gonna win. I think it's a foregone conclusion that she is. There's a possibility that she may get her first knockout in like 6 years as well, because she's always talked about, you know, having to sort of drain her body down to make these other weights like 154, 160, 167. Well, she's going to be big in this fight. She looks bigger than the champion, quite frankly. While I don't think that, like, again, she ain't really got no knockout power, but if we see the way that Amanda Serrano took out Stevie Morgan last week, it was just an accumulation thing with the referee jumping in. I can see a scenario where that happens with Claressa, so I'm gonna go with that. I know Michelle Rivera is also fighting tonight technically as well, and Shohan Ergashev. I expect both of them to get victories. Rivera probably decision, Ergashev probably KO. And I also know what's his name, Shinjoki Jiru, what's his name, Shigeoki Jinjiru, I believe, is fighting Sunday morning over in Japan. So I think he's also gonna get a stoppage. But yeah, that's sort of enough of everything outside of where we're at, because that's kind of where the main talking points are gonna be lying when this video obviously comes out. So looking at the undercard, really briefly, I think the main fights will obviously be Raven Chapman versus Johanna Sarabia. This is Chapman's fight back after a little bit of stint of injury. She's going to be coming back, looking to go to a mandatory position within the WBC after this fight. I think Tiara Brown is the next mandatory on the line, but I think Raven Chapman will get a fight. Will get the fight after that. However, having seen limited bits of footage from Sarabia, I can't give too much of a prediction as such, but I do think the work rate of Raven Chapman, provided that she hasn't lost much of her stamina and endurance, I think the work rate will tell, and she'll come good in this one. So I'm gonna go with Chapman. I think she'll probably get a points decision. That's sort of the way I see that one panning out. Moses Atama versus Mario Swack. I think that's going to be a good little step up for Moses, just in terms of being able to get rounds. I think he's going to get a victory. I don't think he's going to be able to get a stoppage unless it's a very soft sort of Howard Foster type stoppage, but he should be able to get the rounds in on that one. Ryan Garner and Archie Sharp. Interesting fight. However, I've got Ryan Garner winning that one. I think he's got a bit more punching power and a bit more guts and guile than Archie Sharp does, and I think ultimately when the chips are down, he's going to try and push the pace a bit more. So that's kind of my thoughts there. Sean Noakes and Inda Bassi. I think Sean Noakes is he's gonna sort of take that one. I'm thinking late stoppage, very late stoppage in that one, but only because I just feel like he's gonna try again, push the pace, push the action, and sort of just almost overwhelm Inda Bassi a little bit, but could be totally wrong. Brandon Lee, no interest. I already kind of know how that fight plays out, but him struggling wouldn't be a surprise to me. You guys already know my thoughts and opinions on that. And the other one, which has an air of intrigue about it, is Dennis McCann versus Enoch Baluta. That fight, in the first, I think it was safe to say that Enoch Baluta will actually, McCann sort of won the first couple of rounds, but Baluta came back strong, as he does, pretty much every time he steps in the ring with all of the Queensbury bantams and the super bantams. So I think that but in this one, I do think that McCann obviously is grown in stature a little bit. He's a little bit more composed than he was back then, and I don't think he's going to try and engage Baluta like he did last time. So because of that, I think that he's going to do enough to sort of take an early lead and manage to just sort of keep himself in front on scorecards throughout the rest of the bout. So I can see him winning the fight via unanimous decision, very similar to the way the Liam Davis fight played out a couple years back. So that's sort of my prediction for that one. Now, moving to the main event, which is obviously what we're all here for. Now, I want to preface this initially by saying, if you look at obviously career trajectories, Joe Joyce had the he had the sort of the vast career trajectory, and Derek Chisora was definitely the guy who was on the downslide. He was the person who everyone was saying, look, he should have retired ages ago, and there's no reason why he's even still getting in the ring. It's dangerous and whatnot. Fast forward, we're talking less than 10 months at this point, where you've got Joe Joyce suffering a devastating knockout defeat. He suffered 2 stoppage losses to Zhang last year, but one was obviously devastating knockout inside 3rd round, and since then his stock has plummeted. Imagine, he went from being some people's number 2 British heavyweight, like no less than sort of number 4 heavyweight in the world, to now people barely even thinking of him being in the top 10 in the space of just one fight. Really goes to show the downfall that can take place sometimes within the sport. But one thing about Joyce, I've always said, he's always had pretty fast feet in terms of being able to get into range and stop a person from escaping the pocket when he's in the ring. He's always had a pretty I've always said his jab has always been pretty fast. It's always been well timed. It's very hard to avoid. It's always just the backhand that was supposed to come after it, or the hook that's supposed to come off the jab, which was always easy to read from opponents. Derek Chisora, on the other hand, he had this trajectory where he was just, everyone, like I said, thought he was supposed to be cannon fodder. It's time to retire, like get out of the ring. But he has come back off 2 pretty decent wins. I'm trying to think. He had the Kubrat Pulev win, and then I think the very next fight ended up being the Gerald Washington. So I think he actually ended up with 2 wins back to back, which has kind of now put him back into a space where he's in and amongst talks of the contentions of at least being able to sort of mix it one last time. Now, he said this is his last fight at the O2 Arena. He said his goal is to fight at Manchester, the MEN, although he may look for the Co-op Live Arena now that that's sort of taken place up in the north. But he said he wants to go there. Then he wants his last fight to be in Zimbabwe/Africa, and he called it quits for that. Now, in the whole lead up to this fight, he's been playing on the fact that he doesn't think that Joe Joyce is really he's not really a boxer at heart. He doesn't he doesn't really live this. He doesn't think about boxing outside of when he's training. He does it because he's athletic. He does it because he's okay at it, but he's not really that way inclined. He's not the big guy. He's not the guy that's gonna put it on you he's, you know, just a nice guy. He's a nice guy. He's not really about this. And then seeing that looked like it's had some success in the build up, he started to take it one further to basically allude to the fact of, well, look, you got beat up by pretty much the only Chinese heavyweight we've had in the history of the sport of boxing. That's kind of the way the angle he's coming from. They're not even known for having fighters, let alone like heavyweight championship fighters, and this guy knocked you out twice. And now everything is about, you know, oh, let's get Zhang on the phone, let's bring him out, let him do my ring walk. He came out with the mask of Zhang for the weigh-in. Joe Joyce seemed visibly irritated by a lot of this, but how much of this is actually seeping into the mindset? That's going to be one of the keys to victories here, because both guys have pretty good stamina, in the sense that when you look at Joe Joyce, he very rarely gets tired, or at least he hasn't, because he's always been able to kind of work at his pace, but he keeps on moving and keeps moving forward and making the other person have to push back. Derek Chisora, on the other hand, he is weird in the sense that he looks like he gasses out from the end of the second/third round in fights, but he'll go back to his stool, literally look like he's dying on his stool, but then get up the following round and still manage to put in a huge effort round after round after round, not visibly looking like there's, you know, like he's that tired, and then go back to the corner again and be dying on the stool looking like he's about to collapse. So it's hard to kind of see which way they're going to play out in terms of who's going to run out of gas first. Now, Joe Joyce has never really been someone that's been pushed back a lot in his career. Zhang was able to do it, which obviously you know, made him have to sort of extend and expend more energy than he's used to kind of doing as normal. He's also coming in the ring at 281 pounds at the minute, which is, you know, to me way too heavy for him, even though he can probably handle that size. He's also, but one thing, since the Zhang fight, and even since the fight with Cash Ali, Joe Joyce is starting to look a lot older than he looked last year. Visibly, he looks like he's aged about 5-6 years in the space of 10 months. And I don't know how that's gonna work in terms of his movement as well, because in the Cash Ali fight he seemed a bit cumbersome compared to how he's used to be. Derek Chisora is quite good at being able to just sort of tuck up on the ropes and, you know, not ride a lot, not take a lot of damage, ride a lot of shots. And with someone like Joe Joyce, who realistically, he kind of needs you to open up to maybe catch a counter, but because he doesn't move that fast with everything apart from the jab, a lot of that stuff I can see Derek Chisora being able to see, smother counter and try to counter over the top. The overhand right is one of Derek Chisora's biggest weapons. Like, he uses that in every single fight against every single opponent, and for the most part he is kind of able to land it. Now he never turns over his knuckles correctly, which is why he doesn't ever seem to get maximum force and torque on a lot of his shots. But several fighters, from Dave Allen to Alexander Usyk, have said that he's the hardest puncher that they've ever been in the ring with. Now, what that possibly means is that he's thrown the hardest shots at them, because let's not forget, a lot of boxers don't throw 100% power into every shot, whereas Derek Chisora might do, or he might throw more power into his shots than a lot of the others. So I guess we maybe look at it from that train of thought. But you've got Joe Joyce, who obviously is, you know, he's damaged goods in the sense that, you know, the unfallible chin has been cracked. We've seen the wobbles. We've seen, you know, before we saw the little wobble to the body from Bryant Jennings. We've seen the two big wobbles from Zhang with the speed. And now we've got someone who's obviously another fairly big guy who's going to throw as much power and energy into his shots as anyone else. If Joyce gets hit, what happens? Does his brain revert back to when he got hit by Zhang, or does he walk through it the way he used to, saying, you know, you're not on the level of him, so I ain't really got much to worry about on your shots? The way I kind of see this fight playing out ultimately, and look, I could be totally wrong, something's telling me that Derek Chisora is gonna end up winning this fight somehow. I just don't know how. And I don't know why I even have that feeling, because on paper, Joe Joyce is the clear and obvious favourite. There's absolutely no reason why Chisora should even be able to hang with him for more than sort of 5-6 rounds. But it all comes down to how much pressure and forward momentum Joe Joyce is able to apply in this fight. I don't know if he's going to be on the front foot, stepping on the gas every second of every round like he usually does, because even in the Cash Ali fight, yes, he had to sort of follow Cash Ali around the ring a lot, but there was a lot of times he was taking breaks. He was resting, he wasn't throwing those shots out, whether it was because Cash was good at the up and down, the lateral movement and being able to avoid certain shots, or maybe Joe was just tired and he wasn't able to really sustain attacks the way he used to. I can just see a scenario where Derek Chisora wins a lot of the early rounds, purely because even though Joe Joyce is, you know, he's working behind the jab, he's pushing that jab out, he's even trying to throw the backhand behind it, Derek Chisora just ends up landing several big shots every round, which just takes the eyes of the judge and makes them, you know, believe that, well, even if he's not totally in control, he's having the better of the exchanges. And he can go tuck up on the ropes and get his break back and let Joe Joyce basically hit nothing for periods of time, or ride shots, and then come back with other big salvos, very similar to what happened in the Carlos Takam fight. That's kind of how I see sort of the first half of the fight playing out. And then I do see sort of maybe round 7, 8, 9-ish, where maybe Joe Joyce properly steps on the gas now. Derek Chisora is starting to hang on a bit more, starting to hang on for dear life, not being able to really be as effective and looking for pot shots here and there. But for some, you know, but maybe even being able to pull out 1 or 2 big shots around to take the eyes of the judges, maybe nick 1 or 2 of them, and just about stay ahead in the fight, even though Joe Joyce is working diligently, but just not being able to do enough to actually get Derek Chisora out of there and knock him out. And something, I don't know what, but something's telling me it's going to go to the scorecard. Something's telling me that we're going to end up with a split decision, and that split decision ends up going Derek Chisora's way. I don't know why. Again, this it sounds horrible me even saying it, so this could be like, you know, just horrendously bad thoughts and feelings, but something inside is just telling me that Derek Chisora is going to pull this victory off somehow, come hell or high water. Quite frankly, I'm here for it if he does, because that will be crazy. But yeah, outside of all logic and reason, I'm just going to go with this weird feeling I've got. So I'm going to predict that Derek Chisora wins this fight via a split decision, and it might be even controversial with a lot of people up in arms. It may have to call for a rematch, I don't know, but that's what's kind of in my mind. But yeah, look, let me know what you guys think. If you think that this is a horrible pick by me, I totally get it. Don't bet this one. You know, maybe bet every other fight I spoke about and leave this one out. But yeah, this is just kind of how I'm seeing it going. So I apologize in advance for how wrong this potentially could be. But with that being said, thank you very much for watching. Leave your predictions down below, I will check them and we can wrap later on. But for right now, it's Basis Picks locked.